and welcome to this live session. We are going to talk about how to set up an email newsletter and send it every single week without burning out, and it's actually still going to be really fun to do. And I'm so excited about this session. My name is Nicola. I am from the team here at Podia. This week we are collaborating with one of our fabulous Podia pros. This is Brittany Hardy. And yes, Brittany is the founder of Empty Desk Solutions and a co-founder of the Marketing Club. She's an expert in web design, all things marketing, and we are super pumped to have her collaborating with us today. We also have Rodrigo from the support team joining us in the chat. So you might see him pop in to answer some questions in the chat and the Q&A. And yeah, so we should have everyone here and ready to go. Brittany, would you like to kick us off?
I'll kick us off. Can everyone see my full screen? Hopefully, yes. Okay, I will do my best to look at the chat at the same time, but Nicola, if I have it in full screen, so if there's a question that we don't want to wait till the end of the Q&A, interrupt me anytime and I will answer that.
Awesome.
Amazing. Well, hello, welcome everyone. And this is, as Nicola said, how to write an email a week without burning out, or in theory. That's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and make it as fun as we possibly can. If you're able to turn off distractions so that you're focused with us today, please do so. Turn those phones on Do Not Disturb. If you can't, that's a-okay too. And apologies in advance if I have some tiny humans that run into the background. We shall see if my kids like to Zoom bomb us today or not. And as Nicola already said, the replay will be available. If you are on my email list, it won't go out today. It'll go out tomorrow with whatever offer comes along with this. But I believe Nicola's sending it to attendees. Are you saying that today?
Yeah, that's the plan. As long as Zoom processes the replay quickly, I will be sending that out to attendees today. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Well, brief introduction. I have a slide for Nicola too. I'll pass it over. But I'm Brittany. I've been helping entrepreneurs since 2014. That's when I started my agency. I build websites. I started off primarily with social media management, and slowly as social media changed, I still do that, but I got more into web design as social became finally more social and less about just shouting content into the void. I'm also the co-founder of Marketing Club and Mortgage Marketing Club, which are memberships both run on the Podia platform. My focus, if you haven't guessed already, is all things Podia website design, but I still dabble in content creation and email marketing for clients as well. I'm known for having more ideas than time, building sites and email campaigns really fast, and showcasing behind the scenes chaos of business and life as an entrepreneur with ADHD and 4 kids, if that's not a mouthful. If you want to connect with me online on any of the social platforms, you can find me at Empty Desk Solutions or on my website. I'll drop some links into the chat towards the end as well. Over to you, Nicola.
Hi, I'm Nicola. I'm part of the Podia marketing team. I've been at Podia since 2021. Before that, I taught middle school science. I built and ran 3 different blogs, sold digital products and courses, and worked in web design for a little bit. And I'll share a little more later in the session, but I, in that time, really developed a love and passion for email newsletters, and that has carried over at Podia as well. So my focus is content, email marketing, and then Podia education and learning resources. And yes, I am known for never running out of content ideas. I love reptiles and lizards. Science teacher, we had a class pet lizard, and frequently saying you should start a blog about that. So if you come to me with a cool idea, I'm going to encourage you to start a blog.
I love that. I need a quote on mine. Oh, that's so fun. Of course, my mouse is acting up. Here we go. Okay, so I wanted to start off with a little backstory about why I care so deeply about email marketing. It's not really the most fun story in the world either, I'll be honest with you. I have been, maybe if you've also been hacked, you are welcome to share that in the chat, but I've been hacked not once, but twice. The first time was actually very early on in my business, and I never got the domain back. Like the whole thing's gone. Someone else still, fun fact, operates my old site. I don't know who it is. Yeah, it exists. The shorter version of my business. Super weird. I started all over again. But the second big hack, which was terrible, was during COVID. It was in 2020. All of my social media accounts were hacked. They started with Facebook or the Meta Suite. They went into client ad accounts. Like it was a nightmare. And I was really panicked because most of my eggs were all in that basket. And I thought, this is going to destroy my business. I have no way to communicate with people. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to let this totally destroy everything. I had for me, what was a relatively small email list at the time. I want to say it was like 400 people that were past clients, friends, family, community. It wasn't really targeted at the point, but I knew, okay, I have some people that I can talk to and I can tell this story. I can warn them about how to take precautions for their own accounts and just keep the communication going. And so instead of that panic, I leveraged the list. That's when I decided I'm going to double down on growing my email list so that I don't ever have to solely rely on social media again. Lots of stuff I've done to grow my list in the meantime, and that's a whole other story or workshop on its own, but that is the reason I'm so passionate about it. And also, if you don't have two-factor on those accounts, oh my goodness, please do that so that you don't end up in this situation as well. And then I have a slide for you, Nicola, where you can kind of tell your journey with email marketing as well.
For my backstory with email marketing, when I built my first blog, I had an idea for a digital download product. It was a printable. And I posted about it a ton on all the platforms I was active on, social media, on YouTube, on my blog. And I didn't really get any bites until I started sharing it with my very tiny newsletter because the people who were on my newsletter were people who were really interested in the topic my printable was about. And it was really wild to see that I didn't have very many subscribers at all. And that was where most of the sales were coming from. So that kind of led me to experiment a bit with funnels. And ultimately, I ended up with a system where I wrote a blog post that was about a topic related to my digital download. I had a free lead magnet, which was basically a page of the digital download printable that I gave away for free. And then that put people onto my email list where I could tell them about the full product. And that system is still running to this day. I haven't worked on that particular blog in years and will still sometimes get a sale on that digital product now, just from someone finding the blog post. So ever since, I have been a huge fan of newsletters. Even if you have the teeniest, tiniest list of all time, if you are attracting the right people to that list, it can be a way to send money into your business even without you actively working on it. So I think that can be a really cool tool that's a lot of advice for entrepreneurs kind of relies on you having some giant following somewhere, but newsletters don't have to be that way. So it's great when you're just getting started out and still building. And yeah, we all need to have money coming in to keep the lights on. So I think newsletters linked to your products can be a really great way to do that.
Yes, a really good point you made about not getting hung up on the size of your list as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really easy to get discouraged by and not necessarily the way people are teaching it, but when people are talking about like my list is X size and like doesn't actually mean anything. Like my email, like full disclosure, my email list, it's not small. It's about 9,000 people, but sometimes 9,000 people, it's a struggle sometimes to even get people on a free workshop. Your list has to be niche enough and it has to relate to what people want for it to convert anyway. So you might have a list of 100 people, but you're making sales, and someone might have 10,000 and they're not. So don't let that kind of hang you up. Um, we had a client well, it's earlier this year that we launched a membership for, and we actually weren't sure. We're like, I don't know, like how big, like the audience might not be big enough, but like let's do all the things we normally do and try it. And they ended up with 100 members off of a list of 1,000 people, which conversion rate wise, that is crazy. Like you wouldn't normally see that. So it does go to show that anyways, it's the trust that you build with people, and that's what we're going to show you how to do with sending an email, hopefully weekly. Don't let that freak you out yet. I don't know if we said this at the very beginning or not. If you do have questions, Nicola will try and I know Rodrigo is going to answer stuff as we go as well. Nicola will interrupt me if there's something she wants me to answer, but you're welcome to put stuff in the Q&A box as well, and we'll do a live Q&A session after the demo that's at the end. We're doing okay still? Okay. So you might already know this. That's probably why you're here. But email marketing is a really great way to build trust. Kind of like the story about being hacked as well. You're not fighting against social media algorithms, i.e., someone has basically invited you into their inbox. So while you still have to technically fight the spam filters, you know that there's a good chance that those emails are going to land in someone's inbox and they'll actually hear from you. This stat, the $36 for every dollar spent, this will vary depending on what website you look at for stats. But in general, for every dollar spent on email marketing, you should be seeing a return of $36 over time. It's not like every email you send is going to equal that. And the most important part is you own it. There's very few things in the digital landscape for your business that you actually own, but you own your email list, you own your website. What you do on social, you don't. Like, whether it's hacked or not, it can go away tomorrow. Instagram can decide it's not going to exist tomorrow. That would be crazy, but it could happen. And if that's your only way of communicating with people, well, that's no bueno for your business. So you probably already know those details. Before I animate the points in, I want everyone to tell me they're not going to freak out when I tell them the frequency that you should send emails. Caveat, it varies by business, by industry, but the secret sauce is not quarterly, it's not monthly, it's not bi-weekly, it is weekly or more. I wish I could see everyone's face because I bet you they're like, no, I don't want to send an email every week. When I went all in on email, I was still sending quarterly newsletters. And then I was like, this isn't working. Nobody's like responding or messaging me. Well, duh, I'm only emailing them once every 3 months. They don't even remember who I am. And at that point, I didn't even actually have a proper welcome sequence, which is its own thing as well. Then I tried monthly, but it still wasn't enough. Like if someone had opted in and I had just sent a newsletter, that means they're not hearing from me for potentially a whole other month. It was just too long in between. I thought, okay, I'll embrace bi-weekly, which was decent and that was sustainable for a while. And then I really went all in. I did a bunch of training with Amy Porterfield, who's like the queen of email marketing. And she kind of drilled it in. She's like, it's weekly. It almost doesn't matter what your industry is. It's going to be weekly. It was really scary at first to do that. I was actually quite afraid, like, am I going to see a bunch of unsubscribes? Or it's kind of all of these weird limiting beliefs that pop up. That didn't happen. I mean, every email you send, if your list is big enough, you will see unsubscribes. That's inevitable. But percentage wise, I wasn't seeing more unsubscribes than I would have on a monthly newsletter. So that might be some encouraging news for you. It equals more sales in the long run. So
Brittany, we have a great question in the chat. Is there such a thing as too many?
okay, I will say yes, but also I think it's like it can be kind of personal preference. I mean, a lot of the big names in marketing, like sometimes they're emailing you multiple times a day. That's usually during like a promotion period for something. My frequency increases, and most other marketers will increase during a period of like a launch period. If you're launching a course or a new, workshop, webinar, that kind of thing. Like my email list got 3 emails last week, but that's because I was trying to pump this up, and then it will kind of go back down. A good indication for you if you were trying to decide if the frequency is too much for your list is to look at those metrics. If your open rate starts taking a nosedive, then that might be an indication for you, okay, like they don't need this level, like they're not used to it, and you might want to slowly increase it. So if you're someone, that is a good question. If you're someone that's sending, let's say you're sending right now quarterly and you want to work towards weekly, it might not be A to B like that. You might go monthly first for a while and then weekly so that your list gets used to it. New subscribers, it wouldn't matter, but old ones, it would. Good question. Do you have an opinion on how many is too many, Nicola?
I think that answered it perfectly. It really depends on the audience. So I would just look at your statistics, your open rates, and do a little bit of experimenting with your group. And it also depends on what you have to share. If you have lots of new insights and ideas and tons of valuable stuff to share with your audience, I think go for it. If you're feeling like, oh, I don't know, one a week is already pushing it, then maybe stick with that so that everything you send is valuable. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but I would experiment. Every audience is different. We do have a question about balancing the opt-in sequence with the weekly newsletters, and I think I will address that during the demo portion. So I'm going to grab that question, and I can show you a little trick to do this during the demo. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Perfect. So if we know all of these stats and we know it's really important and we know the frequency, why do so many of us resist? Like, it's like I have to, sometimes I feel like my clients, I'm dragging them, kicking and screaming. I'm like, come on, you can do it. You can send a weekly newsletter. It's not because they can't do it. It's generally speaking, they're just missing a tool that's easy to use and send newsletters, i.e. Podia, which we're going to show you at the end. Doesn't mean you can't use another software, but that's what the demo is going to be. And pairing that with a content planning system to go with it. Hopefully everyone's ready. We're going to change this together. Here's where we're headed today. We're going to define your content pillars. If you don't know what content pillars are, that's okay. We're going to explain it. Brainstorming made easy comes after that. Then we're going to talk about making your reusable template. And then finally using your momentum. So we have some tips there. And then Nicola's going to take us into a live Podia demo. So if we're okay to move forward, I'm just going to go straight into it. We're all good in the chat? So at a very high level, the process overview is exactly that. Content pillars, you're going to choose your core themes that are going to help guide your writing. Then you're going to decide what is your brainstorming system. Then you're going to make an email template. Doesn't mean you have to do all these today, by the way, but this is the overview. And then you're going to keep your momentum going. At least that's the idea, right? So the very first thing is defining your content pillars. Your content pillars are the backbone of your newsletter strategy, full stop. For some reason, pillars doesn't resonate with everybody. I like to call them buckets, but it doesn't sound as fancy. On the workshop slides, we're calling them pillars. I think of my content as like, what bucket does this fit in if I had to put it in one and one only? But in general, I thought this image was funny. What are content pillars? They are, I usually say 3, but we're going to generalize 2 to 4 recurring themes you're going to return to every week or month or whatever that frequency is for your newsletter. So you're not going to pick like 10 different things you're going to write about. You're going to try and niche it down to 2 to 4, pardon me. It keeps your content consistent and recognizable. There's other ways to keep everything recognizable, but if you're writing about consistent themes, that's going to help. And it's going to help act as a built-in content plan so that you're never starting from scratch. So why do we need them? If you've ever stared at a blank screen thinking like, what do I want to write about? Okay, fine. You might be saying, fine, Brittany, I'll try and send a newsletter once a week, but I don't know what to write about. Well, your content pillars are going to help you with that. It's going to help keep everything focused as well. If you're anything like me, you might be really wordy. And so I sometimes will go back to my content pillars and go, okay, does this actually serve a purpose? And then I'm trying to condense from there. And without my pillars, I might have a hard time doing that. They help build your audience expectation and trust so they know what they're going to get from you. You can also talk about that. I know someone mentioned the welcome sequence. I say in my welcome sequence, I email weekly and here's the type of things that I send. You don't have to do that, but I find being upfront about what my frequency is really cuts down on what that unsubscribe number is going to be. So if you're just starting off, that might not be important yet, but if you have a sizable list and you're concerned about increasing it, you could consider adding that to your welcome sequence. I love this. Actually, Nicola, you put this in here and I was like, oh yeah, so good. Too many topics that you're writing about may be a sign to create pillars and niche down. So it doesn't mean you can't love to brainstorm, because I love it and I know Nicola loves it. I've seen her spreadsheet and a screenshot anyways. It just means you're going to decide what pillar they go under to help sort of inform your strategy a little better. And I'm sure you guys have all heard this before, talking to everyone is like talking to no one. It's very hard for people to relate to you, which is what you want if you want sales and building trust, if you're talking about all these different things. Like if I talked about every facet of marketing all the time, it'd probably be pretty hard to get a consult booked because they'd be like, what does Brittany actually do? So can I do lots of digital marketing stuff? Yes, but primarily I'm going to talk about Podia, I'm going to talk about email marketing and the membership I run, and that's where I'm going to stay. So it avoids a lot of confusion. Here's some, weird that the first point was the only one that didn't animate in. Here's some examples. And by the way, I have a ChatGPT prompt. I don't know if I can toggle out, so I'll send it with the recording before everyone freaks out, but I have a prompt that'll help you brainstorm your pillars. Here's some examples of what that could look like. So a personal brand, I would consider myself a personal brand. My pillars might be behind the scenes, education tips, personal reflections, which is where most of my stuff comes in, and I do a lot of storytelling, and straight up offers or sales content. These might be the same pillars you're using for social. In fact, most of the time they are, so those can be interchangeable. So if you have them for social, you can use them for your newsletter. Or a travel blogger, maybe they only have 2 in their travel stories and remote work tips. Although I feel like travel, oh my God, it'd be so hard to come up with pillars, right? So many fun things you can write about. Or Podia's pillars. I don't know if these are actually accurate because I made these up, so Nicola can correct me, but that might be product updates, creator stories, business building tips, something like that. Now, how to find yours. So you're going to ask yourself, what topics do I blog or post about most? What products or courses do I sell? It can be interchangeable with services if you're someone like me and you're not selling an actual product. What questions does my audience ask me most? Or I would actually add to that, a really good way to spin it the other way is, what questions do I wish my audience would ask me that I could share? Those are 2 different things. Or what stories or insights are you excited to share? And when you start writing those down, your pillars will often reveal themselves. So I like to do these fun little, like, I'm going to open up the chat so I can actually see it. These fun little action steps during the workshop. Right now, I want you to, and I won't spend a lot of time here, but I want you to try and pick some themes that you want to show up with every time you send your email list. Now, this doesn't mean you have to hit on all, we're going to show you some examples that'll make sense. Doesn't mean you have to hit on every single pillar in every email. You can choose one, but I would love for you to come up with even 2 or 3 content pillars. If you want to share them in the chat with what you do, please do. Sorry, awesome. These are all really great. And don't forget, you can change these as you go. They don't have to be set in stone forever. It's just going to help you categorize the content when you're really stuck. Okay, so that was step number 1. Step number 2, we've hit number 2. Brainstorm throughout the week or month. If you have a set time you want to put aside to brainstorm, it doesn't have to be every week. But here's what you're going to do. Ideas come usually when you're not sitting at your desk. So you want to capture those and find a way to make this easy on yourself. My mouse is like having a jammer. There we go. So creating a system, I should have kind of like highlighted low pressure. A low pressure capture system. The screenshot on the left, this is not a low pressure system. This is actually my content planning method. I'm using Notion. I'm using Notion lovers here. I jot down all my ideas and I drag them into my marketing calendar so I can visually see when I'm going to send stuff out. You don't have to do this in the brainstorming phase, but my crazy little ADHD brain needs to visually go like, yeah, but where am I going to put this thing? But this could be Apple Notes. This could be Google Docs. This should be Google Sheets, which you'll see like Nicola's on the next slide. Evernote. Voice notes are really great. If you're out and about and you don't have a way to take notes, just record a voice note so that you have it there and you don't lose that idea. It could be a physical notebook. It could be Notion like this. I don't have it with me. I have one of those like fancy Remarkable tablets. I don't know, Nicola, if you've ever played with one of those. So I have like a little brainstorming notebook in there. The point is, pick something that is sustainable and easy to use for you. Because if it's not easy to use, you're just not going to use it at all. Or it could be something like this. And this is, Nicola, this is yours, right? Yes. So keeping it organized by pillar. This is another way. So if we go back 1, so mine is just the straight ideas in a list and I drag them into a calendar. That works for me. Or it might look like this, where it's not a calendar view, but you're coming up with the ideas and then you're just putting them in whatever category they should go in. So each of these colors represents a content pillar. And when you find something relevant, I would encourage you to drop it in right away if you can. This is really going to help you build this kind of like always ready bank of ideas so that you're not staring at that blank screen. So the best system to use is the one you're actually going to use. It really doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be functional. Honestly, if that's a stack of Post-it notes on your desk and you want to put them all over the wall, do your thing, chicken wing. As long as you have somewhere where you're storing those ideas, that's awesome. So there's another fun little, oh, look, my animations actually worked, Nicola. Action step. What tool, I'm going to open the chat again, if my mouse lets me. Where's my mouse? You guys. In the chat, share with me what brainstorming tool you're going to use. Are you going to use Google Docs? Are you going to use Notion, Excel spreadsheet? Can we on Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah, and I'll add another one for just very, very simple on the go. If you have a notes app in your phone, I will sometimes just pop each pillar name with a bulleted list underneath. And so if I'm out and about and I have an idea, which happens a lot, like you'll be thinking, "Oh, I have this, wait, I should send an email about this," or, "Ooh, I would love to remind people about this thing." You can just put it in your notes app and then organize it all in a more pretty way when you get back to your computer. Yeah, Trello is great. Notes app, Notion, also really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. See, look at everybody taking action. That's what I want. Okay, we're on step 3 of 4, if you guys are still with me. Now we're going to talk about setting up your template. So hopefully you have at least started to brainstorm what your pillars are. You have chosen where you're going to store these ideas, and now we have to think about the actual template. And the template of this email, we're not talking about what you're actually writing, the copy or the content. We're just talking about kind of the overall look and feel and sections you're going to have, how it relates back to your pillars so that it's easy for you. We're going to work smarter, not harder with Podia / whatever email you want to use, but we're going to do the demo with Podia because it's awesome. All right, so let's make it easier on yourself. Let me just get rid of this chat out of my view so I can see my slides again. So in the tool that you use for your email, you're going to set up a template with sections for each of the pillars you have outlined. Or if you're writing shorter newsletters or storytelling, You might create a template for each pillar individually. This doesn't mean you have to go into your email marketing platform today and create 4 completely different, distinct templates. It might be one, but some people write a longer newsletter and all of their pillars are technically touched on in that newsletter. Others have just one. Mine will always just touch on one. Sometimes, in this example, they're going to have multiple. You don't have to have them all, but you're going to create something you can share. This is a screenshot actually inside of my Podia account, so you can see, I know it might be kind of small off to the left, but all of my newsletters have a similar look and feel. And then when I go to write a new one each week, sometimes I'm batching them, I click the little 3 dots, I just click duplicate. So all of my template sections are there. Nicola will show you that in the demo as well. But all of my branding is already there, how I, the little section I have for the skimmers and all of my links. So I'm really only creating the template once, and then I'm leveraging it moving forward. So you're not going to start from scratch anymore, at least you're going to try not to. This is going to give you a consistent layout, a consistent brand feel. It's going to save time, which is going to save you mental energy. And it makes it really easy to include recurring elements, promos, links. I think I have a screenshot of one of my emails. I have like 8,001, just kidding, not 8,000, but like lots of links that are in this PS section that I always want to be there. And they actually do get a substantial amount of clicks, but they're not the focus of the newsletter, but they're part of the template at the bottom. And that's really helpful. Otherwise, each time I would be trying to find those links and it would be a pain in the butt. So here's a screenshot of what mine looks like. It's missing just on the sides, wrapped in the light purple that I use, so it's recognizable. Always have the same banner, and then it's whatever I'm talking about. And then you can see this little PS section always has the same email signature. It's the same email signature that I use actually in my regular email, so it creates like a really consistent look. And then under here where it says ways to work with me, that's also part of the template. I never change that. I mean, if one of the services I decide to retire it, okay, sure, I'll delete it. But for the most part, I hit duplicate, and all I'm changing is this middle section of content. So it's really, really helpful. It doesn't have to be super designed, and arguably the one that I'm showing you mine, it maybe has a little more design than most. It doesn't have to be that way. It can just be a text box with headings where you're talking about one of your key topics, but you could get creative, and Podia makes it really easy for you to do that with colorful box outs, borders, different ways to put your banners in. But the point is you're going to create one template, and each week you're going to duplicate it instead of starting from scratch. Are we still all good in the chat, Nicola? Yes. Okay, amazing. So in Podia, you can see, this would be the same if you're using Kit, MailChimp, MailerLite, all of those, but I'm talking about Podia today. So in Podia, you can see a library of all of your past emails. You can use any of them as a starting point for your next email. So if you have a general newsletter template like I have, but you have a different one that you run when it's a promotion or an offer, you can go back to that previous one and duplicate it, and that becomes your template. So don't panic about having to create all of them at once. So you're just going to update your content. Works really well if you have evergreen sections, like a coupon for products or a CTA, or for those of us unfamiliar with what that stands for, a call to action, meaning what do you want someone to do to join a program. And when you go to send your newsletter, all you need to do is pull up your notes, choose what goes where, and plug and play. We make it sound really easy. Just write the email. It's magic, but it kind of is when you have your template, right? Last section, and then we're getting to the demo, I promise. This is actually my favorite part, the pro tips. Now you're going to use the momentum that you hopefully have created. So once you start, the system grows itself, and here's how to keep it going. I find once I'm like in the zone brainstorming that it just flows. Once you've chosen the system, it should flow. All right, so my first tip is batch when the energy is high. And this could be brainstorming, or it could be physically writing emails. So writing multiple emails when the inspiration strikes. You can use a spreadsheet or doc, like a Google Doc, to just jot headings and ideas if you're kind of building the framework, and then maybe you're going into your newsletter software later. That's okay too. You can schedule ahead for buffer weeks. So for example, one of my memberships that I run is very niche. It's for Canadian mortgage brokers. It seems like there's a market for that for content. Yes, there is. And I batch all of the promotion emails for an entire year in one sitting. They're mostly the same, but they're recurring every month. I just change out what were, the discount code or what have you. So I create those in advance. I did a whole year of emails in 2 hours, but I can only do that if my energy is high enough to do that. It's harder to do that with a general newsletter, but promotional type stuff where you kind of have a calendar and you can plot those, you can. So that is tip number 1. If you're feeling inspired, you can use, sorry, my chat's covering up again. Use that to write as many emails as you can. Nicola, this is your Friday hack. Do you want to talk about your
Yeah,
Friday?
yeah. This is just a little thing I started doing that I really like. And you can do it on a weekly or a monthly basis. So on a Friday, so today, if I know I have a few emails coming out in the next week, I will just open a doc, put a title for each email that I'm planning to send, and start doing a bit of brainstorming notes. Sending ideas for things I might want to include in those messages. And I don't put the pressure on to actually sit and write the full email just yet. That way, when Monday comes around, I have a whole list of starting point ideas for those messages. But you can also do this on a monthly basis as well. If you pick, like, let's say the first of the month is your day, and you want to send 4 emails that month, one each week, you could put down the notes, ideas, everything you want in each message. And that way, when you actually roll around to the day you're going to send it, or the day before, you have this kind of starting point and you're not looking at a blank page. And we do have two great questions in the chat. So batching just refers to doing writing multiple emails at the same time and scheduling them out. And in the demo, I'll show you how you can do that. But most email tools are going to have some kind of schedule in advance feature, which basically just means you can write it on Monday and have it send automatically for you on Wednesday or Thursday or 3 months from now. So that allows you to, if you're, going on vacation for a week, you can keep your email newsletters consistently rolling without you actually being there pressing send. And then we also have another great note here, which is awesome. Suggestions, Sabrina, you can batch your content via content pillar as well, which means one day you can write content pillar 1 for the next few months. The next day you can write content pillar 2 for the next few months, and then you can mix and match. And that way you're not jumping between different topics. That's a really great suggestion as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Tip number 2, this is my favorite one actually, is, and this just helps on the conversion side, i.e. getting people replying or opening, interested to read your emails. This, okay, doesn't work for everybody if you're a really super corporate brand, but most of us using Podia are not. So I think this applies to most of us. The tip is write like you're talking to a friend. So imagine you're catching up with someone you know, it kind of gets you out of that really formal marketing voice into a more natural tone and makes people actually want to read your newsletters. My most funniest newsletter I wrote recently was, and it was a real experience. I wish I videoed it. It was my son. Kind of makes me laugh even talking about it. I had made crepes earlier in the day, and he decided, for some unknown reason, while I was on a consult on Zoom and the person couldn't see him, he decided to slap me in the face with a crepe. It was hilarious. And the person was like, did you just get crepe slapped? Is that a thing? And it was so embarrassing, but so funny. I'm like, this would make a really good newsletter. Kind of like you, Nicola, saying, you should write a blog about that. I'm like, oh, I should write an email about that. There's always an experience. And I don't remember how I related it to marketing, but it was super funny. And had I still been stuck in that like really formal marketing language that I used to use many years ago, I wouldn't even feel comfortable enough to tell that story. But those relatable, funny, real life moments are what makes people connect to you. So I would embrace that. And along with talking like you're talking to a friend, unless you are communicating on behalf of a team and you have to say we, which I always used to because I do have a team, as soon as I moved and started speaking it in first person and saying I or my, it actually like really changed how people related to the email. One small little tweak, but just talking like it was me talking to one person made a really big difference. So that is my favorite tip. Is tip number 2. Tip number 3, I feel like this is Nicola's favorite. Do you want to talk about tip number 3, Nicola? It's your
I
favorite.
love
I know it
this.
is.
Sure. Yeah. So repurpose your content. If you are making any kind of content, like if you are posting on social media or you're making YouTube videos, you're posting blog posts, you're going on LinkedIn and dropping really good insights, you're big on Reddit, wherever you are creating content, it is very likely you can take that content and use it somewhere else in your business because you have already put in the work to make something really interesting and great. So use it. So I love a lot of the examples here. If you have a blog post, turn that into an email newsletter. If you have a social post, email, client convo, email, use it more than once. And that way you are getting a lot more mileage out of all the hard work you already put in. And I do see we have a few questions coming through. So Brittany, do you have any tips for overcoming writing blocks and perfectionism, overthinking, kind of getting in your head around like a newsletter that you want to send?
Okay, that's a loaded question for me because a couple years ago, uh, I officially, finally, at the age of 38, got an ADHD diagnosis, and it all made sense. Like, oh, this is why I overthink everything. So I maybe do things a little different, although statistically speaking, apparently 30% of entrepreneurs have ADHD. So I know you guys are here with me. The only way I've been able to get out of my head is to it sounds really crazy. I'll write everything and then I'll paste it into something like ChatGPT and I'll literally ask it questions or say like, is this too long? Is this boring? Will people resonate with this? And it knows my voice and my language well enough now that it's pretty good at condensing. The one thing that I overthink more than anything else is the not the tone anymore. I'm not afraid to kind of like speak my mind in the emails. It's the length and how I'm telling the story and if I feel like not like the story itself is too boring, but if I'm not sure how to condense it. So I leverage, I guess my tip is leverage AI for that if you're comfortable with that. I'll write my whole thing and then I'll paste it in and I might say, this seems long. Can you condense it by half? And then it will, and then I will kind of iterate from there. Um, I don't know, is that helpful? I hope that's helpful.
I think that's very helpful. And it's like there's no one right or wrong way to get to that finished product. So it's a bit of experimenting with what's going to work for how you operate, you know?
Yeah, I think it was also accepting, like I went through this when I was changing the frequency of the emails itself. Like I changed the frequency and how I was communicating, i.e. in first person, all at the same time. Like I don't know if I'd recommend that, like 0 out of 10 recommend, but I did it all at once because I'm kind of a rip it off like a band-aid kind of girl. The biggest limiting belief I had to get over was like, yeah, it's I guess like a rejection thing, but it was like, oh, people might not like me. They might not like what I have to say, or I'm going to embarrass myself and everyone's going to unsubscribe. They were totally irrational thoughts, but I think we all think those things. Like there's a lot of imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur in general. So it was just a lot of mindset stuff. I just listened to a lot of different meditations and stuff as well, just to like slowly train my brain and just accept the fact. Like I have some really great colleagues in memberships that I co-host as well, that we would bounce ideas off of each other. And sometimes if I had something that was like really wild, I would trust them that they would be honest and say like, I don't know, Brittany, that might be a little too much to tell that story. And then I wouldn't. I would trust their judgment. But I had to accept like there is gonna be people that are gonna unsubscribe. It's gonna happen. But I don't want to let that 1 out of 100 person stop me from letting my message get through to the 99 other people. That's kind of where I went with that. Sorry, I want to add one more thing to this third tip on repurposing. And this is something I tell my clients is whatever your cornerstone piece of content is, and by cornerstone I mean like the big meaty piece of content. That might be a blog for you, or it might be an email. For me, it's my email. Whatever's the longest form thing, that's where you're going to start, and then you're going to repurpose from there. So sometimes it might be hard to think like, oh, is this social post an email? Well, if the social post is like a really long caption, probably is an email as is, but I always start with my email and then I go and repurpose it later from there. At least that's how I do it. Okay, tip number 4, and this is if you're feeling like, you know what, I don't have any ideas right now. What else could I do? Because that might be you. So tip number 4 is share other people's stuff. Could be articles, videos, recipes, like anything. You can still have it relate back to things that you love. It's really great for building connections, shows that you're a real human, and I should have bolded the last point. It is great for referral partnerships and collabs. So I have on the left a screenshot of, I realize you can't read it because it's small, but a newsletter I wrote. I do a feature not every Friday, but when I have space in my calendar, I call it Freebie Fridays. And I find something cool online. Sometimes it's someone who actually we refer business back and forth. Sometimes it's not. It's just something I found where I think my audience would love this thing. I'm going to share it with them with zero expectation. There's no affiliate income or anything behind that. So I have had a call with another designer. Actually, you could actually say we're competitors, but she focuses on branding, and she had this really awesome brand start checklist. And I'm like, oh, can I share this with my email list? Like, I feel like my people would love this. They'll just end up on your list. I don't want anything for it. I just want to share it. So it really does well for building those relationships. And I know at Podia does that as well, where they're sharing different things that people create, right? Like creator stories. It's on their website.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I love sharing creator businesses, creator stories, things like that. It's so helpful to just see all the different ways people are building their business because it's like we've said now probably several times, there's no one right way to do it. And I think being able to see those real examples of how you could set things up is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's a fun surprise when you find, like, sometimes I'll see someone running a workshop and I'm like, oh man, they need more eyeballs on this workshop. I wonder if I could help them. And I'll look at my marketing calendar and go, I have space this week. I've only sent out my Monday. I didn't send out my freebie Friday, and I'll plunk it in. And then when they see it, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for sending this. And I'm not asking them for anything in return. It just really, like, anyways, I love the connection. And then tip number 5, kind of alluded to this in the beginning, is adjust your format. So it doesn't have to be set in stone. So if weekly all pillar emails, and by what we mean by that is if you had 4 pillars and you're like, how am I going to put all 4 of these pillars in each email? You don't have to. You might rotate. If you're all in and you say, I'm going to send a weekly email, maybe you're going to say, week 1 is going to be a story, week 2 is a blog, week 3 is tips, week 4 is a promo. It doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to have one of each. It could be 2 of one of the other, but you can kind of mix and match so you don't have to feel like you're really confined in this box of having to hit all of the pillars at once. I made it. Yes. I feel like I've been caffeinating all morning just to make sure that.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. And I am going to just expand on that and show a little bit of how this might look in practice. So I'm going to share my screen. If you guys could let me know when you see the rainbow colored content pillars.
We're seeing it.
Awesome. Okay, so this is an example of how you could set up content pillars. And I'm using a travel business here, but you could base these pillars around whatever makes sense for you. So in this layout, I would have this spreadsheet probably on my phone. And if I'm out and about over the week and over the month, I'm dropping ideas in each category as I have them. So I might have like a funny story or something weird I ate that I want to share, or maybe more organized content here, like things to do, coffee shops, restaurants. I have a list of latest blog posts and content and vlogs, and a list of all the products just to keep those front of mind. So, in an email, I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can format this. You can either go through and pick, one thing in each category and set up, pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4. Or if you have a lot to say, like maybe you have a ton of insights about this food vlog in New York City and you could fill a whole newsletter with that, you can just have that. And if you do that option, you'll notice this 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 month of content. And by the time you have 12 rows, you've got like basically your whole year of content planned out if you want to do just 1 pillar per email. So let's go into the Podia dashboard. This is just the standard dashboard. This is my test account, so you will see me testing things a million times. I'm clicking over here into email. And I'm going to click new broadcast. We're going to set up an email newsletter template for all 4 pillars, and then we'll set one up for just one. But the amazing thing is you only have to set this up once. So if you take an hour on a weekend and set it up once, you can use it for years and years to come. Podia has a bunch of pre-made templates in this little template library here. There we go. So you can choose one of these as your starting point, and you can also choose from a previous email. So this is really helpful if you've made a design you absolutely love and you want to use it and just change out the text. You can grab it here, or you can use that duplicate button, which I'll show you in just a minute. We're going to start with blank though. And out of the box, super blank, kind of plain email. Now, you totally can just sit here and type out your message. Hello. But if you want to customize it, we have options over here in the sidebar. I'm going to start by naming this email newsletter 1. Subject will be hello. Your subject lines will be much better. This preview text is a little line of text that'll show up next to your subject line in some email clients, usually on like mobile phones, it'll show up. And you can also customize who gets this email. Now, there were 2 questions during this session. One was about how do you balance out if you have an automated opt-in sequence and you're sending newsletters, how do you prevent people from getting overwhelmed? So one way you can do that is with a filter. When you send your email, you can say the person signed up more than, let's say, 7 days ago. That means no one's going to get this email unless they signed up more than 7 days ago. So if your welcome sequence is 7 days, you won't have any overlap. And if you want to save this, you can call it like finished welcome. Now that's going to be saved as a segment in your audience that you can use on every email newsletter you send. So you don't have to go through and do that filter thing every time. You can also use this filter to just send a newsletter to someone who has one of your products, for example, or just send a newsletter to your affiliates or any other thing like that. But let's jump in to the design part. I'm going to start here on general. And I'm clicking here. You can make your background whatever color you want, or you can click into the site colors, and this has the site colors you've set in your Podia account. So I'm going to set this light blue background. I'm going to center my header and footer. I'm actually going to pop these horizontal lines out, but they're there if you want to use them. And now I've got already looking better, a little more designed, a little more in my brand color palette. You can also go in and customize the fonts, the font size, the weight of the fonts if you want it a little more bold, and you can customize the buttons, dividers, all that. And you can do that one time and then duplicate the email, and all those settings are going to stay when you hit the duplicate button. So let's go ahead and add our different pillars here. The first one is I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell a funny travel story to my audience. I've got my my funny travel content here. And then I want to share a travel tip. So I hit this plus button and you can choose from all these sections over here. You can add in videos, buttons, files. You can even add in a full blog post if you want. I'm going to add in a text section and I want to make it stand out by giving it like a tiny different background color. So for this section, I'm going to share like more of my organized travel tips. And this will be a little travel guide for Lisbon, things to do, things to see. And now someone's going to get my personalized introduction up at the top, and then they'll get these more organized travel guide, travel tips here. And then I'm going to show you a really cool thing that you can do in Podia because everything is interconnected. So this option here, featured post, will actually let you pull in a blog post from your website. So if I click right here, all the blog posts I've published come up for me to choose from. So each week, if I have this section set up and designed the way I like, I'm going to take some of these off and I'm going to make the width a little smaller too. So I can just simply click this X and pull a different post in every week. And this view post button is going to take me to that actual post in Podia. So that is a great way to just, swap out your post. You're good to go, press send. The last thing we're going to add is some featured products. And this is going to be similar to how Brittany showed she has those lists of links at the bottom of every single email. You can also do that. You can do that as text. You can do it as a little call out box like this. You can add a link. I'm going to pop these in and I'm going to leave these at the bottom of every email. So all I'm really doing each week is customizing the little welcome story, customizing my travel tip, switching out the blog post, and then this will stay the same. So let me grab another bit of copy here. And another cool thing you can do with the buttons in Podia, so this, you can just paste a link, or you can click product and choose the product you want it to link to. So this is really handy, again, if you want to change out what you're featuring in each newsletter, you can do that with that option. So then I'll just add one more little text section at the bottom that says, thanks for reading, and I'll share more next week. So I can go ahead and send this out to my audience right now, or I can send it later. And this pulls up a little calendar. So I can schedule this. I don't even know if there's a limit. We can go pretty far out. And you can start making your content and getting it on the calendar when you have time. Like if you end up with a weekend that's a little quieter than usual, you can get way ahead on your content. So I'm going to refresh this and I want to show you really quickly how you can adapt this template to do just one pillar. If you don't have something to share every single week for every single pillar, that is totally fine. What we're going to do, click right here, duplicate, and look, now we have all our settings just the same as before, super easy. I'm going to call this one newsletter 2. It's going to also pull in, look, this is the finished welcome sequence recipients. It's going to keep the same recipients I set the first time. So you can you can make sure you're sending it to the right people. You can also change this. And I'm going to delete this section, delete this one, and pull out this one. And instead, I'm just going to share all of my content. I have some travel tips I want to share in this one. Paste that in, and I'm good to send. I'll also show you one thing as well. If you want to add a little signature or some design to your email, a super easy way to do that is go in Canva, design a long, skinny image, and make it look however you want. You can put your photo, a signature, and then save it with a transparent background. And then you can add it here. So I do want to make sure we have a few minutes for questions. I know we just have a few minutes left. So if you guys have any questions for me or Brittany or anything you want me to show you in Podia really quickly, go ahead and drop those in the chat or the FAQ or Q&A.
There was one that came in through the Q&A that maybe we can address verbally from Erin.
Yeah.
And Erin was asking if we have any tips or training, tips on training your audience to open your emails and priming them to buy. She just joined Podia. Want to be more consistent with newsletters. Currently 40% open rate, ways to get more people to open and ultimately buy. Okay. Like loaded question as they all are, I suppose. I would say, okay, first thing though, on your open rate, depending on your list size, 40% is generally like above industry standard. So that's awesome, but it varies, right? Like until you have 1,000 subscribers, it will look a certain way. And then as it grows, generally speaking, your open rate will go down and you have to get craftier. So your open rate is decent, but in order to get people to open more, there's a few things to look at. Like you alluded to in your question, is it all about subject lines? It's part about subject lines. The more juicy the subject line, the more curious someone's going to be to open the email. But sometimes it's also looking at the configuration more on the technical side. But if you have what's called like your DMARC record correctly set up, sometimes there's records at the root level of your domain that aren't properly set up, which means you could be ending in more spam or junk boxes than intended. And the intended obviously is 0, but that's virtually impossible. So those two things kind of play together. And then depending on how people get onto your email list in the first place, in your welcome sequence, and you can do different creative ways to word these things, but try and encourage people, one of the emails in there, to reply to you and say they got it. And those can be really short text-based emails, and then it just kind of prompts them to be like, oh, there's a human behind here and I can reply. The one that works really well in mine, I have my lead magnet's a content calendar. They downloaded the first email. It's like, here's the thing. See ya. Here's how but the second email I send a day later. Sorry, there's 2 emails. One I send, I actually have to use Zapier to do this, a more advanced trigger, but it goes a couple hours later and it says, hey, so-and-so, I'm just checking. Did you get the thing? Can you reply if you got it? So it's going the same day. By default, Podia only has like the 1 day. Anyways, I can show you guys how to do that another time if you're curious. But that one gets replies because people do answer like, oh, yes, I got it. Thank you. Or no, I didn't. Can you resend? In that case, I know it's their spam. So that's something. But basically giving them a reason to reply.
Awesome. Yes. And you can always learn more about Podia. We are just podia.com and happy to answer any questions. If you do, check out the website. There's a little box, a little bubble at the bottom where you can get in touch with support if you have a more technical question. We've got our experts like Rodrigo standing by. So happy to help answer any questions about that. But yeah, this has been super fun. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.